Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Bracha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Psalms, the 73rd chapter. A psalm of Asaph. Now, Asaph, when you look him up here, right, Asaph, let's say, who was Asaph, the psalmist? Oh, spelled that wrong. All right. So it says Asaph was a prominent Levite musician, singer, and seer. You see, and that's why when you read the Psalms, right, and you see the Psalm of Asaph, there's a good amount of prophetic insight into it because he was a seer, right? So is David, right? David was a prophet. But it says here, appointed by King David as a chief worship leader in the tabernacle, credited with authoring 12 Psalms. Okay, so let's go into it. It says here, Psalm 73:1, truly God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. All right, and this is basically saying, I was at the brink of completely falling, right? I was at the brink of destruction, right? As it says here, but as for me, I almost lost my footing. My feet were slipping and I was almost gone. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. And as you go into this chapter, it's mainly dealing with the prosperity of the wicked. But as Asaph basically breaks down, it is foolish to envy the wicked. And David even mentioned that in a psalm. He mentioned that fret not thyself at the wicked, because once you come to understand, yeah, they have all these temporary pleasures, and it would seem as though they're not going through the struggles that we are, but we're the ones trying to do righteousness, right? And we're the chosen of the Lord. So what's going on here, right? What's happening here? What are we doing here? But when you understand what their end is, then, okay, it all makes sense. So he says here, right, the prosperity of the wicked, for there are no bands in their death. And who is the wicked? Malachi 1:3 will tell you that. But it says here, but their strength is firm. Now, all these benefits, these perks that are written concerning the wicked is temporary. Okay, it's all temporary because this is their world. This is their time to rule. Right? It says here, they seem to live, NLT, live such painless lives. Their bodies are so healthy and strong. You have some Edomites today. They live a long time. Okay, you got some that look super old. Now they don't. When they look super old, some of them are actually really old, 80s, 90s. You don't really see a lot of Jake living to that, especially here in Babylon, living that long. But once again, it's their kingdom, right? It says, verse 5, they are not in trouble as other men. So the things that we suffer and we go through, right? They don't go through that. You may wonder, yo, I'm like following this person's strategy. I'm like doing the things they do, but it just seems to work for them because this is their kingdom. Neither are they plagued like other men. So the things that we suffer, the troubles that we have to go through, the stress that we got to deal with, they don't have to go through that. They're living. It's like they're living lavish. It's like everything. They're just good. You don't got to work. You just all of a sudden, your father or your uncle or whatever, some CEO of some rich company, and then boom, you all set. You don't got to worry about what today they call white privilege. Everybody else is just like, yeah, get to the back of the line, buddy. But we'll find out why. And Asaph was upset. That's why he said, I almost slipped, because I'm like, I was trying to understand why this is the case, and nothing was making sense. It seemed backward. Therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain. Yeah, because why do you think they move, in such an arrogant and proud manner? Because they feel like they can never be touched. The Lord hasn't brought judgment upon them yet. Speaking about Esau, so they're of the mindset that everything is going to go their way. They can be proud. Because what's the merit of being humble? Violence covereth them as a garment, meaning they're so accustomed, they're so used to violence. It's like, wearing clothing. It comes so easily to them. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart could wish. NLT, these fat cats have everything their hearts could ever wish for. Once again, because they're in their kingdom. So they have their consolation. They have riches, they have power, they have authority, they have status. I mean, now it's going down now. It's going down for real. But it's because they're losing it, because their kingdom is falling. And in fact, that's actually a sign of their kingdom falling. Anyway, they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. Okay? Why is that? Because they're wicked. Right? When we read up above, they're proud. They're not humble. They scoff and speak only evil. In their pride, they seek to crush others. See, concerning oppression, in this, some of them will even admit that this country, right, Babylon, was built upon the backs of oppression, and that it's still a system of oppression. And then they'll turn around and say, well, what's wrong with that? Basically, you got dealt the card, just deal with it. Get over it. Right? Concerning oppression, they speak lawfully. That's proud. They set their mouth against the heavens, right? To basically speak against the heavenly host, right? The Father and Yahushua and the angels. And their tongue walketh through the earth. Okay, let's read that here in the NLT. They boast against the very heavens, and their words strut throughout the earth. Okay, it says here in the NIV, their tongues take possession of the earth. So, they basically say whatever they want, everywhere, anywhere, because they feel like they're in the power seat, which they are, to a degree, for an extent, or for a time period. Therefore, his people return hither, and waters of a full cup are wrung out to them. All right, it says here, and so the people are dismayed and confused, drinking in all their words. See, and that's because they're in this position. So they can spread that confusion, right? You got people following the things that they're saying and pushing because they have the power to push that on them. And they say, how doth God know? And is there knowledge in the Most High? That's a part of them speaking, highly against the Lord. It says, what does God know? They ask. Does the Most High even know what's happening? In fact, it mentions in the scriptures they didn't consider the latter end, right? When they were committing all these atrocities, especially putting the Lord's people in captivity. That's that saying, right? Is the Most High even know what's going on here? Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. So really, if you're looking at the world today, you're wondering why it is the way it is. Read Psalm 73. It'll explain to you why people that do so much wickedness have so much power. Why is Amalek, the the little hats, why are they in such authority? Aren't they guilty of all this, stuff that's going on in the world that's not good? So why do they prosper? Right? Why do they increase in riches? Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. So he's saying, it seems like, remaining righteous and clean and being innocent was all in vain. If this is what it takes to be to be prosperous in the world, if the ungodly are going to prosper, what's the point in being godly and being holy? For all the day long I have been plagued and chastened every morning. Right? I get nothing but trouble all day long. Every morning brings me pain. I'm suffering here to make sure I'm continuing to do righteousness, and they're just being wicked and boom, flourishing. If I say I will speak thus, behold, I should offend against the generation of thy children. Right? It says here, if I had really spoken this way to others, I would have been a traitor to your people, because then it would have sounded like you're against righteousness. You're in support of wickedness. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me. And that's it says here. So I tried to understand why the wicked prosper, but it was a difficult task, right? Or what a difficult task it is. That's why going up to the first few verses, he said that I had almost, right, it's here, right? My feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. Because he was wrestling with this, trying to understand, what's happening here? What are we doing here? Until I went into the sanctuary of God, then I understood their end. And the sanctuary of God is where you get the truth. It's where your eyes are open. So here he's saying when my eyes were open, when the Lord gave me the understanding of why, then I understood their end. Okay? Prophecy explains to you what is going to be their end. And when you see their end, it doesn't matter how prosperous they are right now, you are not going to envy them. Trust and believe. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places. See? So if somebody is set in a slippery place, what does that mean? It's only a matter of time before they fall. And that's the position the Lord set up Esau, right? It's the position he set up the wicked and the ungodly. They're literally on slippery places. Any day now, they could take the wrong step and bam. And thou castest them down into destruction. That is their end. How are they brought into desolation? As in a moment. See, quickly, just like that. How should I say? I beheld Satan falling as lightning. Revelation 18, it says, what? In 1 hour, is so great riches come to naught. They are utterly, and that's in Revelation 18, it's talking about the destruction of Babylon, which is a major part of the empire of Esau, who are the ungodly. See? It says here, as in a moment, they are utterly consumed with terrors. So just like that, instantly, and that the terrors are the judgments the Lord is going to bring upon them in destroying their kingdom and putting them in captivity. As a dream when one waketh, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. So he's saying it's going to be like a dream, that when you wake up from, that's how it's going to be, Lord. When you wake up and you see their, their wickedness, you're going to despise it. NLT says, when you arise, O Lord, you will laugh at their silly ideas as a person laughs at dreams in the morning. Thus my heart was grieved and I was pricked in my reins. See, so now he's like, damn, I felt like, I was grieved to at some point think, to be envious at the wicked. Okay, at the prosperity of the wicked. See, so foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. He's like, damn, I must have been looking like a fool. Right? I was so foolish and ignorant, I must have seemed like a senseless animal to you. Sitting here wondering, damn, Lord, am I really wasting my time doing righteousness? Look at these people. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand. You supported me. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterward receive me to glory. Which is also the path of the chosen, right? The path of the elect, right? We're being guided now by the counsel of the Lord, which is this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And what's going to happen after that? If we continue in it, we're going to be received to glory, right? And that's the salvation. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. See, you're all I have. My defense in the heavens, that's you, Lord. On the earth, the only one that I desire here is you. Because of the Lord comes everything, right? There's none that you can or should put above the Lord. My flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. It says here in the NLT, my health may fail and my spirit may grow weak, but God remains the strength of my heart. He is mine forever. So it's the Lord that strengthens us, right? That's why the scriptures talk about being quickened by the word of the Lord. For lo, they that are far from thee shall perish, right? Those that are not near to the Lord. And how do you separate from the Lord, right? When you start to go astray from what he has instructed us to do. The wicked, they're just a different case. All right, they were not created to be near the Lord anyway. It says, thou hast destroyed all them that go a whoring from thee. And a whoring is, what did the Lord command us in the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? So when you go a whoring, you are worshiping another god. You're committing spiritual fornication, spiritual adultery by going to serve other gods. Meanwhile, you got the Lord over here. And what? The Lord is going to destroy all those that do that. For it is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord Yahweh, that I may declare all thy works. And that brings us to the end of the book of Psalms, the 73rd chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.